In 2020, Oris launched its in-house caliber, known as the Caliber 400. It was a highly publicized and anticipated release among enthusiasts, but I can't help but think that maybe I would have approached it differently. Now, I know that many of you are going to say that I don't have the right to criticize or give my opinion, and if you're one of those, I suggest you find another video because I'm going to share my thoughts. Oris is a brand that has been making a leap into the world of high watchmaking. It's refining its designs and developing really good things like this caliber. As I've always said, any guy can dress up a generic movement and put it in a watch, but it takes a true specialist to develop an in-house movement. I believe that if you want to be recognized as a house of high horology, it's essential to have a caliber that is 100% yours. In that aspect, I think Oris has mastered it well. They've kept their entry-level lines with generic calibers while elevating their other lines with in-house movement. The issue lies, or rather laid at that time, in how the launch was executed, because as I said earlier, I would have done it differently. Let me show you what I think the big problem is. Here in my hands I have two green Aquis watches, and I challenge you to tell me from this distance which one is the 2500 and which one is the 4500 model. It's a bit tricky, don't you think? I believe that is exactly the stumble they've had. Now, I want to make it clear that I might be 100% wrong and might have no idea what I'm talking about. But I'm inspired and I'm going to share my theory. It's obvious that the Aquis is Oris's most popular model. It's the most recognizable and beloved model in the entire brand. From that perspective, it makes sense to launch the new caliber with this model. But if you're going to introduce a new revolutionary movement, you need to do it with a bang. You need a true differentiator that makes people aware, not just of the movement, but of everything new. Once you see the two watches, you realize there are certain differences. One obviously has a dial that says 5 days because it has a 5-day power reserve. The dial of the Caliber 400 is a bit shinier, and when you flip it over, the difference is obvious. However, when I say the difference is obvious, I think I'm referring more to the watch nerds, because I don't think the difference is so significant that an average person could justify the price nearly doubling. And here's where I ask you to imagine someone who is going to buy an Oris. They walk into a store and find two models that are essentially the same, but one is twice as expensive as the other. When they ask the salesperson, why is one double the price if they look practically identical, what do you think the seller is going to say? Well, it has a slightly shinier dial. And that alone justifies the double price? No, I mean, the movement is different because this one lasts 5 days while the other one lasts only 2. And this new caliber also has the Oris bear hidden in there. I believe that for the general public and for those who don't know much about watchmaking, it's a bit difficult to justify the price, especially when the two watches look basically the same and both give you the same time. I wanted to make an analogy between an Audi A3 and an RS3, which are cars that share the same platform, but one goes much faster than the other due to a large difference in the engine. But in the world of watchmaking, no matter how advanced the movement is, being ahead or behind is still wrong. But back to the topic, I think it's hard to justify the Caliber 400 when the watch looks exactly like the entry-level version. If I were Oris, I would have taken one of two paths. The first would have been to create a new model. If you're launching your in-house caliber, I think taking the opportunity to introduce a new model featuring this movement would have been worthwhile. Or I might have debuted the movement with the Pro Pilot in salmon color, which made quite an impression due to its style colors, but also because it was a new model that didn't clash with the entry models. Or number 2, if you really want to stick with the Aquis, I would have launched a different version from the existing Aquis models. At the very least, you could have released an exclusive color for the Caliber 400, or even created an Aquis Elite line, since the Aquis Pro already existed. Now, I say all of this because the niche Oris is entering is the most competitive within watchmaking. Because in that price range, you have Tudor, you have Tag, and for just a bit more, you're already up against Omega and Breitling. you're getting into a real battle with the giants. So to stand out in that price range, you need to do something different. And the in-house caliber was the right move. I just think there was a need for that push in design to give it a finer look. I say this with great affection for a brand that has supported me and one that I care for. But if you're going to compete with these giants, you can't just recycle your homework and add a new movement to it. Now let's remember this was 4 years ago. Things have been changing and I think Oris is on the right path. But let me know in the comments, what do you think?